Say hello to Raze Kingsley, the best wide receiver in the 2026 class. Raze came from a rich family and grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, the home of the New England Patriots and the land of great quarterbacks like Tom Brady, Greg Landry, Matt Hasselbeck, rookie Fernando Mendoza, and two of the best high school quarterbacks in the nation with William Wood and Christopher Vargas. Kingsley went into high school playing quarterback himself, aiming to be one of the greats, before he ended his freshman season with 17 interceptions on just 12 touchdowns. Kingsley was discouraged and quit football for good. Until the first day of his junior season, he came back to football, but this time he was receiving the ball, and he was the best. Not just on his team, but the best in the nation. Kingsley transferred to Xaverian, a high school in the MIAA Catholic Conference, the most difficult and prestigious conference in the Northeast. Despite the harder competition and his first true wide receiver season ever, in the 2025 season, himself and Catholic Conference MVP quarterback William Wood led Xaverian to a state championship. Entering his senior year, Kingsley stood at 6'3", 210 pounds, and with that build, how could he be anything less than the best wide receiver in the nation? But can he maintain that through his senior year, or will he fall into a mid-season slump and have to climb back to the top? Going into Game 1 of the 2026 season, Kingsley is the #1 ranked player in the nation. Being the #1 recruit, Kingsley could literally go anywhere, and his first thought was LSU, the wide receiver university. His second was Texas. His family was from Texas and made their fortune fracking oil outside of Austin, and this was his childhood dream. Although Texas wasn't inherently known for their receivers, he would be a good replacement for graduating wide receiver Ryan Wingo. Despite these top two schools being full powerhouses, Kingsley's parents were people of business and wanted Raze to get a real education, but still have a competing chance in college football. Following in the steps of Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kingsley's third selection was USC. His fourth and fifth selections were rather forced, as his 4 was UMiami, and they were offering good NIL, but with uncertainty in the new Duke transfer quarterback Darian Mensah, UMiami didn't seem like the best option. School 5 was Boston College, and that was mostly out of team pressure, as most of Raze's friends were going there due to proximity, but Raze was clearly above Boston College's NIL opportunities. Before continuing with the story, I just wanted to say welcome to the channel. I want to do a new IRL conference every video, so drop the 16 conference you want to see next in the comments. You can find all the teams used in this video at Bean is Micro in the download center. These games are always played on Heisman difficulty with standard sliders. I only call for ball when Raze is open, because the goal is realistic career story, not perfect statistics. Also, this video is my own creation and passion. It's not meant to replicate any other creators in any way, though there's obviously some inspiration taken. Raze was hoping to catch the attention of some bigger schools for this game, and he shows that with his opening play where he lines up for a go route. The DB is backed up waiting for the deep ball, but Raze calls for ball early and jumps in front of it right before the DB can snatch it and brings it all the way 77 yards to the house. As he dives into the end zone, that makes his first of many touchdowns as a senior at Xaverian. Kingsley comes up to the line, hoping to replicate his first play, but he jukes out absolutely nobody and runs directly into coverage. But this wasn't all on Kingsley, because what the hell was our QB thinking? Kingsley lines up for his streak once again, and this time he runs a stop and go against the deep coverage. But our 5-star gets absolutely locked down, and Wood decides to go to the check down instead. And after that last pick, I don't blame him. Kingsley's route this time was a corner, but he doesn't like it against this coverage, so instead decides to take it through the middle. Wood takes the check down, but Kingsley picks up a nice block. Out of distrust for Wood, Kingsley runs a slant and is lucky the linebacker's a dumbass and doesn't pick this off. Finally, Kingsley's given a route that he can work with against this coverage. He has to make a move off the line to get this linebacker off and cuts back across the middle again. But unfortunately, there's a linebacker sitting in the middle of the field, which forces his quarterback to go to the check down for the third time. Raze was lined up for a comeback to the corner of the end zone, but right off the line, the corner has outside leverage and forces Kingsley to make a move towards the middle of the field. Kingsley makes a fatal mistake and doesn't see the DB dropping back in coverage, allowing it to get picked off for the second time, but Kingsley does get his first career tackle. After the game, USC reached out to congratulate Raze on his academics. However, no school was impressed by his athletic performance. In week 1, Raze was moved down to a 4-star, and from the #1 recruit in the nation to 86th, and there was disappointment around college scouting rooms. Just before the game, however, Lane Kiffin texted Raze letting him know that LSU had their eye on Kingsley for this upcoming game against highly regarded Boston College High School. BC High has been one of the best lacrosse, hockey, and basketball programs, not only in the East, but in the nation. They hold 6 Super 8 champ titles and multiple state titles in baseball, lacrosse, and basketball, but football has never been their success. But now that they hold sophomore quarterback Francesco Fouts, that can all change. He gets press coverage from the inside, but unfortunately the safety is helping out. Typically this would be a routine catch for Kingsley. With that 6'3" frame, he's used to making head-top catches like this. But here, he drops it. It's just one mistake, right? Kingsley shakes it off and steps back up to the line. Raze makes a nice stop and go, and gets wide open across the middle of the field, but Wood checks it down before even looking his direction. Raze just says, "Watch this." The corner doesn't have any safety help, so it's just him and Kingsley on an island. Raze has about a step of lead, but Wood can't quite make the throw, and Raze has to go for another head tap. 2 mistakes. It's okay, just be better next time. Raze lines up with the corner. This time he motions himself over towards the inside and changes his route again. He makes about a 10-yard dig, but can't come down with the contested catch. That's 3 mistakes. Something's off. This time, both the offense and the defense come out in the same look. It's man coverage, everybody's manned up. That means it's just Kingsley and this corner. Kingsley changes his route to a streak again, and he makes a move around the defender and gets wide open. He calls for ball and brings it all the way down to the 3. But for Junior Kingsley, that would have been a touchdown. Kingsley on a hitch. Kingsley pauses to make it look like a block for an inside zone, and the corner completely falls for it, which opens up Kingsley wide open for a simple grab, thanks to an amazing block, and we haul it in for the 2nd touchdown of the year. He's lined up against the same corner he's been cooking all game, this time on a dig, but instead he sees the safety help and runs a seam fade, but Wood terribly underthrows the ball and it's picked off again. We might actually have to have a talk with William Wood, because what the hell is this QB play? The coaches are tired of Wood's deep ball and instead puts us on a mesh concept. But Kingsley likes the whip route here and hits a nasty whip that he would have caught if his teammate didn't get in the way of the ball. The coaches are already putting Wood back on deep concepts despite not completing a single pass. But Kingsley knows it's not time to go long, so he just runs a drag over the middle to pick up the 1st down. Once again, they're putting Wood on a deep concept and prioritizing the deep ball, but unfortunately Kingsley gets double teamed on this and has a corner gunning close while a safety's waiting for him long, so the quarterback just has to check it down. Once again, we have a deep concept, but Kingsley notices the same defensive look and doesn't call for ball, and Wood just checks it down. The corner is in press coverage, and it looks like Kingsley will finally get a break from this double teaming, but the safety immediately crashes down, leading Kingsley having to make a move to the outside, but Wood can't get the ball out. Despite going up for countless jump balls, he didn't come down with a single one, and only had a couple highlight plays that showed on the coaches. Raze dropped to a 3-star and 930th in the nation, and Raze could see his NFL dreams fading. But the real highlight was upcoming. It was homecoming week, and Kingsley was childhood friends with the head cheerleader, and even kinda liked her. Despite his efforts of asking her out, she kindly told him that she only dates 4 stars, and the fact that he was moved down so far, she didn't want to be seen in public with him. Raze was heartbroken from all sides of life, and was looking to bring that sadness and rage into the next game of the season against Catholic Memorial. CM is a powerhouse through and through, and they've built one of the state's strongest dynasties in MIAA, winning the state in 2021, 2022, 2024, and 2025, while regularly dominating the Catholic Conference and maintaining a fierce Thanksgiving rivalry with BC High that they've won the last 8 years. Beyond football, CM boasts a historic hockey program with almost 20 titles. This team was considerably better than BC High, and anything less than a breakout game for Raze could send him off the path of D1 football. Kingsley comes out in the exact same play that had him going for 80 yards to the house in his first game, and he's looking to repeat that. The corner's impressed and the safety's lingering back, so if he makes a quick haul for ball, he can pick up a good 20. He makes a nasty move off the snap and gets a nice 3 yards off the corner and calls for ball, but the safety's there to make the tackle, and he goes down for 25 yards. Severian comes out in a mesh concept. However, Kingsley's been watching tape and knows that linebacker 0 is going to come into the flats, which is going to leave the middle wide open. So he extends the route to a post and he connects with Wood for another 20-yard grab. This is what junior year Kingsley looked like. The offense has Kingsley lined up for a whip, but with his new regained confidence, he decides to go on another streak. He burns past his defender and gets wide open to make a touchdown grab, if only Wood didn't overthrow the ball. This time the offense comes out in another flood concept, and Kingsley has a soft 10-yard dig. He makes a move outside, but the corner doesn't fall for it, forcing him to make a fast break inside to make the grab. This drive has been all Raze. Kingsley sees press coverage and knows exactly what to do. He makes a quick move off the line and is immediately left wide open across the middle of the field for an easy touchdown. Kingsley was excited, but it was only one drive of one game, so he'll have to keep up the work. He had a stop and go corner and immediately fries his corner right off the line, and William makes a great throw so Kingsley can toe tap it in and bring the offense down to the 30. Even the coaches see that Kingsley is taking a step up, so they put him on a streak going outside. He immediately burns his corner off the line, but Will doesn't even look his way. It's okay though, as Kingsley comes out in another corner route. His DB's in press coverage again, and the corner actually had the leverage, but the linebacker bumped into him, giving Kingsley just enough room to make an over-the-shoulder catch for an easy walk-in touchdown. Wood seems to be getting out of his slump too. Now that Kingsley and Wood are back, it's time for another streak. This poor corner's in press again, and for the 4th time this game, Kingsley fries him, but William Wood horribly underthrows the ball, and it's returned all the way for a touchdown. I guess we were glazing Wood too much. The corner was in press, so Kingsley was the target again. Kingsley was kind of locked here, but he makes a nice move inside and jumps up for a contested catch that he does come down with. Last game he would have dropped that, but junior year Kingsley is back, and he was going to show that to everyone. Wood could have taken a knee, but the coaches knew that Raze needed his offers back, so Kingsley ran the corner and got wide open in the corner of the end zone and walks it in for his 3rd touchdown of the night. After the 31-45 victory, this was absolutely the game Kingsley was hoping for, and he rose back up to 80th nationally and a 4-star. But for coaches, especially Dan Anning of Oregon, knew that despite the star ranking, the Kingsley we knew in junior year was back. He followed the game by posting on Instagram about his 23 new D1 offers. However, something didn't feel right to Raze. All the schools were 1 through 3-star, and no real superstar programs had showed interest. But Raze knew the only way to earn those offers was to keep producing. The next opponent was St. John's Shrewsbury, where the program has claimed 10 state titles, most recently in years 2001, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2009, 2010, and most recently in 2017. The Pioneers compete in the Catholic Conference and Division I, and they have a long-running Thanksgiving series with Malden Catholic, and have produced competitive teams under coaches including John Andrelli, and all of their sports also hold off around 38 state titles overall. But this year was not the year they'd be adding on to that, as Raze is looking for a win against them this Sunday. Disclaimer, I just got back from a J. Cole concert and my voice is kinda raspy, so you're gonna have to deal with it, I guess. Kingsley has a lot to show after his last performance. Many college coaches thought it was a fluke game, so he came out wanting to make a statement. Once again, the offense puts him on a corner and he runs it to perfection. William perfectly slots the ball right between these two defenders, and Kingsley makes a nice toe drag for a 1st down. A couple runs later, Severian found themselves up at the 10, and Kingsley wins a nice out route to the back of the end zone, but unfortunately Wood overthrows the ball a little bit, so despite this nice one-handed grab, it doesn't count towards the stat sheets. Once the offense comes out again, the coaches know they can trust Raze, and they put him on another streak route. Despite being fully covered, Wood perfectly slots it in, and Kingsley catches it over the defender, and is dragged down all the way at the 20. To close out the drive, Kingsley runs a streak to the end zone and catches a perfect one-handed ball and does his signature sally of turning invisible. Kingsley won't stop. The offense just keeps putting him on streaks and he keeps catching it. He's not even fully open on this play, but he makes another one-handed grab right over his defender and brings it all the way to the 20 once again. Kingsley was put on a corner to the back of the end zone on this play, and he executed it perfectly. Even though the corner had lockdown coverage, Kingsley still makes the grab, and it's so cool that he decides to turn invisible once again. But despite all these highlights, the team wasn't without their fair share of mistakes. William Wood constantly overthrew the ball in simple routes where Kingsley was wide open, and consistently was afraid of the deep ball. But then he would have plays like this, where he's taking a sack and throws a perfect dot to the sidelines, and Kingsley makes another one-handed grab. To close out the game, Kingsley makes an over-the-shoulder one-handed grab to the corner of the end zone, and that'll be his third touchdown of the day. Despite having the most insane highlight reel of a game, he still received no calls from major schools on his board. Despite this, Raze knew the only way to look was ahead, and show out for his last game of senior year. Or at least that was his mentality heading into the locker room. When putting on his pads for the last game against Malden Catholic, Kingsley heard a ring from his locker. It was the LSU coach. After announcing to the locker room, the whole team gathered around Raze, waiting for the outcome. Kingsley put the phone down and announced that, despite his recent comeback from his slump, LSU had dropped interest in him and had no intent of supplying a scholarship. Kingsley was devastated. He started the season as the number 1 player in the nation, and now wide receiver U themselves were telling him he wasn't good enough. But another call rang. This time, it was from USC. Same thing. No scholarship, no NIL. Another buzz. Michigan. No scholarship, no NIL. His phone kept buzzing. Miami, Ohio State, Oregon, Alabama, Clemson, and finally, Texas. His dream school, his childhood school, told him he wasn't going to make it big D1. And maybe they were right. But Malden Catholic was the best chance to prove them wrong. They fostered rising studs like Tufik Abasi or Kais Almcliffe, the best rising corner in the state, or John Casoli, a killer linebacker and running back dual threat headhunter. The Malden Catholic Lancers regularly face Xaverian as their conference rivals in football and other sports. Beyond football, Malden Catholic has excelled in hockey, having 6 titles in the 2010s and having 4 in a row, and recently dominated boys basketball with 3 straight state championships, but coming up short last season and failing to continue the streak. But Joe Mazzulla was there, so that's cool. Raze was more motivated than ever to show out in a game, and show out he did. Oh my God! Kingsley walked out on the field with a lot to prove tonight. After 2 good games following up 2 terrible games, it was finally time to solidify himself as the wide receiver everybody knew he was. He ran out on the field and looked at the Malden Catholic defense. He promised everybody that this was going to be the game of the century. Him and William Wood would start the game with a fantastic 40-yard bomb that connected with Raze, but unfortunately he couldn't get the foot in, and it was called back. But despite this, the second play of the game was right back to their normal business. I don't even know what the corner was doing here on this play, but he was left completely sleeping, and a perfect strike to Kingsley landed the Eagles already in field goal range. But this next play landed Kingsley on the ESPN top highlights list. William Wood throws it into double coverage here, but Kingsley goes up for this insane grab over both defenders and gets his first touchdown of the day. There were never any DBs anywhere close to Raze on this play. He makes a streak right up the sideline and nobody even notices him, leading him to make a spec catch and taunt into the end zone for his second touchdown. With such a bulky frame, you'd think that after this insane one-handed grab on this underthrown ball, the DB would catch up to him. But even at 6'3", 210 pounds, Raze has enough speed to taunt his way into the end zone for his third touchdown. The Malden Catholic defense came sleeping this week, and Raze absolutely burnt his DB, and Will Wood has the easiest pass of his life, but he overthrows it terribly, and Raze is still able to bail him out and make the catch to bring them down to the 17. Raze's highlight reel just continues as he makes another one-handed grab down at the 30. This next play was the second play that ended up on ESPN that week. The DB is all over the ball, but Kingsley goes up and makes a one-handed snag to close off his senior season. Following the game, none of the teams that were previously interested in him as a 5-star came back, but that's not what Raze was looking for. As Kingsley sat down at the hat selection table, 3 teams appeared that hadn't been on his board all year. Wisconsin offered Raze a lot of money, however, he didn't really need it because, well, you know his family by now, so that hat was out of there. His 2 main options were between Cal and the Gamecocks. Both teams were ranked at the end of last season, with Cal at number 20 and the Gamecocks at 4 after making it all the way to the national championship against Ohio State. But Kingsley can't commit to both, so his final decision was